The arm should not look like that. See is how even starter is smoking. Come on now. All right, one of the first things we have to do is scribe a line. So now we'll at least know a little bit of buildup here on the... This is the timer piston. This shaft was really kind of tight to get in there. Oh, don't tell me I got it on the first try. So the plan now is to bring in the professionals, Area Diesel Service. So we are here at Area Diesel Service. This is who I've been talking about. These are the guys that have helped me already by giving me a bunch of advice and some parts, but I clearly didn't do some things right, so we're bringing it to the professionals. So let's go inside and we'll check out their facility a little bit and kind of see if they can help us get those issues kind of ironed out. How's it going?
Howdy.
I'm Matt.
Kurt.
Nice to meet you. All right. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's go fix some pumps. All right, so we're going to pop test these injectors here at Area Diesel Service. So what he does is basically hooks up...
Just going to run fluid right through the injector, and depending on where that pops off at, that needle will stop. So this this gauge is going to read in bar pressure right here. That's the sound of these injectors. This right here is a soft chatter tip.
Okay.
So
that's what we're hearing is the end where it's shutting.
And it is atomizing the fuel. You can see that, and that's kind of what that sound is. But you see on our dial here, you're going up, and we're stopping at 131. So
is that pretty good as far as proper?
For this kind of injector, I think that's probably what the bar spec is.
Okay.
We'll have to double check, but yeah, 130. So this type of nozzle just dumps straight down into the cylinder, so it atomizes the fuel and just dumps it straight in. There's no angles or anything like that.
Sure. And the other thing you look for is differences in the, like, one injector is completely off or separate?
Yes.
Like one's doing way beyond or way less?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and your spec, normally you're allowed...
And that looks completely different.
It's still atomizing, so we still consider that. It's still a good...
Still good?
Yep.
Okay.
Because that's what you want, so... That one there, same thing, 130 bar.
Okay.
So we're basically, you're also looking for leaks or anything up here on the injector body itself.
Sure.
So far.
And so if you don't find anything that you wouldn't do anything to the injector at all, you just put it back and run it?
We're going to double check the bar pressure and make sure that it's right. And if it's not and we have to get into it, we can just, all you do is get into the injector and put a bigger or smaller pin in it.
Yeah, see, that one looks like the first one, definitely.
But they're still working good. If it was dripping off, you wouldn't get the vibration chatter that we're hearing. And that needle wouldn't pop like that. It would just kind of leak off, I guess. So
makes sense.
132, so that should be all right. Really don't take much to pop test an injector. It don't take much to rebuild an injector.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot in them, but I've never pop tested any of them or tried that.
Yeah. And these are the ones for your VE, aren't they?
Yeah, they're for the Perkins.
So you don't have an injector problem like we thought.
Well, that's good.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. All right, well, so if you don't know what pop testing is, it's essentially we're checking the pressure that the injector basically atomizes and pushes the fuel down through the tip, and we're looking at the pattern that tip is spraying, if it was clogged or whatever. Essentially, the tip here, right here, is where the fuel gets sent down into the diesel cylinder to create, the compression and explosion that causes the cylinder to run. So now we know, at least on the skid steer, that those are fine. We'll dive into the pump now and see what happens with that. All right, so now I finally got the pump where it deserves to be with the professionals. My attempt to rebuild it was not successful, or maybe it was. I don't really know. We're going to figure it out. We definitely have an issue, and now that we know that the injectors are all pop testing right and the atomization is looking good, then it has to be in the pump. So they're going to start tearing it down, try and figure out what's going on with it.
That could be some of your issue. That sleeve's tight, and that's only ran by this fulcrum ball here and the spring.
Okay.
So if that's tight, this port right here is actually a feed port. So whether it's opened or closed, we're either getting full fuel or no fuel.
Okay.
So that very well could be
So
some
if
of
it
your
was
issue
stuck-
right there if it's stuck like that.
Stuck full fuel, it would be just pouring out white smoke.
Be pouring out black smoke, I would think.
Black.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's
Yes.
pouring out white smoke.
Yep. But this could also,
And it's barely running though. It's not running
yeah.
well.
Yep. But with that there, with that sticking, I want to say, depending on how much fuel, if you're getting no fuel, you know, that could mess with your timing down here and throw it out. The other thing you got to look for in here, you can see this cam. This is your cam here. There's a pin here.
Yep.
That pin and that your keyway on your drive shaft need to be lined up.
Yep.
You can't have them opposite,
Yep.
because that'll throw it 180 out of time. But this one is in time, so. All right, so what we think we found here, this collar on this rotor was actually what I would call too snug. It doesn't have very much pressure that's moving that. That sleeve should be completely free. And with that being stuck on there, not uncovering that hole, that would create a no fuel situation. So we've green rouged that out. It was tight inside the head too, but we green rouged it out also. So we think we got that fixed. The only other thing I did notice is this eccentric liner will go in this way, or it'll go in this way. One's for a clockwise pump and one is for a counterclockwise. I'm pretty sure this was in like this, we're thinking, but maybe not. That would create a no fuel situation if you put it in for a counterclockwise pump and you got a clockwise pump. You will not suck any fuel into that pump. So.
And he's not seeing anything else that's looking ridiculously wrong. How we cleaned up that bore there for this piston, it still slides in there nice and easy. And so other than rebuilding it, putting it all back together, getting all the seals put back in, and then they're going to bench test it. So they're going to put it on their stand and actually run it. And so we will show you that. He's got the whole pump in this basically test setup, and he's going to kind of go over what they're doing and how they're going to see if the pump's working right.
Basically what we're doing is we're going to set the fuel, we're going to set the pressures, and make sure our advance is right. He's having a problem with white smoke, so we think that's a timing issue. Putting it on this test stand will be able to tell us that. That probe right there is going to measure how much advance reading we're getting. I forgot to plug it in. Up here you've got all our gauges. That's the fuel delivery, your housing pressure. Our advance will read off of that box. Right now we're just going to let it basically warm up. We're waiting for these numbers to get up around 40 degrees Celsius. That's your pump. This is your inlet. There's our inlet hose. We got a tank down here that's delivering calibration fluid to the pump. Pump is running, so it's obviously pumping fuel out of each one of these cylinders. So,
Cool.
if I go to a different breakdown, that's giving us an average right now. But if I switch that over to overcheck, it will eventually read what cylinders are being used back here, and it will project each cylinder what it's pumping out. Right now we might have
we want them consistent across
Yeah.
that floor.
Yeah. They gotta be, they want you to be within 5 cc's from your highest to your lowest.
Okay. And you can feel when you
Yeah, you can feel
or
it
you can
pumping.
feel the pump that basically as it turns. That's the clicking you're hearing.
Yep.
What
If we
these
stop
just
that-
test injectors?
Those are our test
They're
injectors.
just spray, basically instead of spraying, they're just pumping back into the thing.
They're going through this metering unit up here.
Okay.
It's pumping it into there, and then this unit is actually reading what each one of these
Oh,
is
how
doing.
much is spraying and that?
Yeah.
Okay.
These injectors they're basically just a test nozzle injector that's set to the right bar for testing this pump. But so each pump, as far as VEs, most of them use one basic kind of injector.
Sure.
But as you get into the Denso and the Zexel, they'll use just basic 12 SD12 nozzles.
Is it RPM up and down?
Yeah, that's what I type in right there.
Okay, whatever you put in.
Whatever I put in is where it's going to go to.
So it gets the faster it goes, the warmer it gets quicker.
Yeah.
Is there a point it waits too much?
No, not really. Yeah, the faster you run it, the quicker it'll heat up. Yeah, right now you're running. So basically, once you fire it up, if it ain't pumping any fuel, you could have a bad solenoid that just killed all the fuel to the pump.
Sure.
So we know that's working. We don't have an issue with that. You got your liner in the right way for one because we're pumping fuel. Like I said, if you weren't pumping fuel, we could kick the stain and run this backwards. And that would let our housing pressure build up. That telltale sign that you got that in back.
That way.
Yep. And our main fuel is what we're going to do first. We're going to set it. It needs to be set at 1,450 RPMs, 45 to 50 cc's. So.
Can we do that on the computer?
Yep. I got to change that back. So. I already don't like that. So go up here to 1450. This is your fuel through here.
That's what this is right there.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
your fuel. Right now, I don't think I'm on the right one. We'll go down here to idle.
When you say right spline, what's that mean?
There's different splines on that throttle shaft.
okay.
And this
Yep.
lever is splined
Yep.
too. So you try to match it where it's pretty close.
And I tried to scribe in
Yeah.
the nut in there to try and line it up where I took it off.
Yep.
And honestly, could that be an issue of it getting funky
And
white?
if you're on the wrong spline, but
Okay.
yeah. That'll actually mess with your idle or your fuel.
Or any of it. Okay.
What we're gonna do, I'll just move that one spline back. Whoops. Cause we're looking for like 25 cc's there at idle. Step back in here. Yeah, and we're going to adjust that. I just
Okay.
think we don't have this back far enough. I don't think there's not be many. Right now, we're pretty much in cutout. I can just tell that our high idle isn't backed out far enough. So I'm going to go up there and set it at 1620. We need 15.
And that's on one of these.
This is your high idle on this side.
Oh, I see. Because you've got it
Yep.
bungeed over.
So we're looking for 15, 16-ish. Right there. Now we're going to go down to 1450. We'll set our fuel at 45 to 50. But you're right in the money there pretty well. There's 50 cc's up there. We're at 15 at 1625.
Is this gauge, the 50, is that just as a whole?
Yes, that's the average limit at
Of all
least
four?
faster. That's why I do it
Okay.
on that.
Makes sense.
So And now we'll just go down. We're going to check our idle at 325. We'll check our start fuel at 325. We're looking for 15 here. We're looking for 15 there.
Oh, okay.
I got a 200, just wanting us to check that. That's pretty much your start fuel.
The 70 to 85.
Yeah.
And we're looking here.
Yep. So you're getting 70 at start fuel, so you're okay on that.
Now what would 85 do that 70 wouldn't? Is that more fuel at startup, or
yeah?
So you'd have that little puff of black smoke.
If you were having starting issues, hard start,
You turn it up slightly.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is the.
That's your advanced. So I'm
Advanced.
just zeroing it right here at 100, because that's going to be the next thing we do. Only thing goofy about this test plan is wanting you to set these at 1900, but our cutout is at 1720. So I'm not.
So it's going way over. So what? You just go to the max of
I'm
whatever.
going to go to 1,000 and see where we're at. See how close we are with these other advanced specs.
Okay. Oh, it's doing an initial one that's like way over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. If once you have one of these set, if you got the right springs in it, the right advanced spring in it, all these
It's
other
gonna be
ones are
identical.
checked. They
Yeah.
should fall in.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense because you're not changing it, and you can't even change anything, right?
The
On
only
the
thing
advanced?
you can change is the shims in here,
Oh, on the back of it.
because you
Yeah.
want your supply pump pressure and this right here, your advanced,
Yep.
at 1900. Okay, you want it. Both of that one's got to be in spec in this one. If we had way too much advanced here, but we were in spec here, we would add shims to keep
Okay.
the advanced held back.
To keep it up.
And
at
vice
the
versa, if you
yeah.
wanted more advanced, you take shims out.
Sure. Because it allows that piston to move more.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Now, the way I run this machine, a lot of guys will just like throttle all the way up. I actually use the foot throttle a lot.
Yep.
Does that change anything?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
It's just the way I
When
run.
you cram it forward, it's just putting a little more stress on the pump and
Okay.
the internal part.
Sure.
It's just running it harder.
With the foot throttle, I can finesse,
Right.
like with a skid steer, getting forks and stuff
Right.
there. Rather than full throttle, you're like
Yeah.
flopping everywhere, hitting shit. Yeah.
That's done by hitting this regulator down.
I wonder
That's
what
a
that
pressure
was.
regulator.
Okay.
So as you hit that
Oh,
down,
you hit it. It's like a press in.
yeah. And when
You're
you hit
hitting.
it down,
You're hitting the middle part.
you hit the middle part.
Ah.
And as I hit that down, that number should go up. Depending on how tight it is.
Yeah. Oh wow. Interesting. Okay, we are back from Area Diesel Service, and as you saw, they completely rebuilt this pump. Couple small things they found, like we've already talked about. We'll see. I mean, we're gonna put it in now and run it. Injectors, they seem fine. The glow plugs were fine. One thing I will say is that not only were they extremely professional, knew exactly what they were doing, but they were absolutely easy to work with. And I absolutely loved that. The other thing is, normally, they paint all the pumps. And they try and match whatever color or engine color is in the machine. I didn't care. I told them it doesn't matter to me at all. I actually kind of like the aluminum color. So I'm not worried about that. If you were to get a pump done there, it would come back painted. So that was my choice, not theirs. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get this thing put back in. We are going to have to make a few gaskets for the timing cover. But since we already have the timing cover off, let's put the pump in now. Make sure we got that gear lined up with all the other gears. And then hopefully, magically, the forbidden magic box that I couldn't get working is gonna work. So let's get right to that. I got this on here just with 2 of the bolts to keep dirt and debris out. You don't want that getting in there because it's right into your engine. So I try and kind of cover stuff up, you know, lines to things, holes, you know. So the other thing, I could not for the life of me find an oil seal or a timing cover gasket. Timing cover gasket's easier. We're gonna make one of those. Oil seal, I can't make one of those. This gear here is your timing gear for the injection pump. Essentially, it's the injection pump gear. So the 2 dots you see there need to match up with the 1 dot on that gear. So basically the 1 dot will be right between the 2 teeth with the 2 dots, just like so. Just like that. So when we put the pump in, it's keyed, and it should slide straight in and fit in that keyway. And not a lot more to the timing than that, so not a lot to mess up, really. Might be a good idea if I take the nuts off there. There we go. There we go. All right, now we got it in there. That line's marked up and lined up. So is that gear and that gear, and those this gear and this gear. So we are properly timed. All right, so next we've got this. I think this is like a spring washer type gear, just to keep tension on it. Then there's this piece. And then we have the nut itself. Same thing on that one. And then this lower one has another little gear and a little spring washer in there too. So we'll get that all lined up. We're going to get all this old gasket material scraped out, and then we'll start getting ready to put the timing cover back on. So we got the engine properly set up with the timing. This gear on the crankshaft is lined up with the idler gear, and then behind this spring gear is the camshaft gear, and the idler gear is essentially the one that contacts all of them, and the idler gear also contacts here this basically the injection pump gear. So as we spin the engine over, you can see all of them are working the way they should. We're going to go ahead and leave it back on completely lined up. And right there. Right there, we got it, that tooth meeting up with that one, and I know this one's lined up. I know I'm not showing you that now, but you're just going to have to believe me. It's right. So I looked forever to try and find a timing cover gasket. Could not find one anywhere, so I am resorting to making my own. I actually make a lot of gaskets, and I like making gaskets. It's much faster and cheaper, at least for me anyway. So we'll start by getting a rough dimension of what we need. Now we can take this and start hammering it out. Minus the bolt holes, there we have our gasket. So normally I would hammer out all the bolt holes, but I think this time, on this one, I'm going to flip it over, put a piece of scrap wood down, and drill them out, because this is moving too much. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. Alright, I went ahead and hammered them all out on here. I did not drill them out. So we're going to gently peel them up. So we're going to use this gasket, plus we're going to put some RTV on it, just a light thin coat. So just like so, we made a non-obtainium gasket in a matter of like maybe 10, 15 minutes. Even you can do it. And then I made 2 of them for down here. One goes on the bottom like that. And this one goes on the bottom like that. So these pieces are actually technically the bottom of the oil pan gasket, but I am not messing with that. We're going to put little pieces in there, and then we're going to fill the corners with some RTV. Little seal that goes here on the bottom of the timing cover. Yeah, I can't find another one, so we're going to do the wrong thing and reuse it. I also could not find for the life of me an oil seal. As much as I want to replace it, it's going to have to last for now as well. So just getting a thin layer of RTV on here, then we'll stick the gasket to it. All right, the 2 spots I want to add some additional to are right in this corner. It's where it's going to want to leak. There. And there. Now we'll take this. Figure out which side goes where. It's like that. Okay. Not bad for a gasket that you can't get. I think it'll work. There we go. Just make sure we got everything we need in there. Tight, tight. It's all lined up. seems too long for that, but I do vaguely remember that being there. I wonder if this one seemed too short. Yeah, I wonder if it's this one. This one probably goes here. I bet you these two go right here. Yeah, this one's probably right. Alright, so this is one of the water necks for the radiator. The gasket pretty much was cracked, so we're going to make a new one. Actually, we should probably maybe make the hole in the middle. What do you think? I think it's going to work better with the hole in the middle. Alright, so this starter for the skid steer here, the solenoid has been flaking out on me for a while, so I was able to get a new one. So we're going to pop that in there. I don't know if it's bad or not, but I'm pretty sure it is. So it was cheap enough that it was easier just to get one. Hooks. It's got a little hook on there like that. It's like same deal. Yep, pretty much. New one will go in there. Let's pull this out. Alright, we're going to slather some dielectric grease all over that. Same with this and this one. This will just help keep it from getting all corroded faster than it's gonna. It's in a skid steer. It's definitely not going to be perfect forever. I think we'll probably take this out of there because I don't need the clip. I've got a hole and I can just use that Phillips head there rather than... I might even, if this bolt fits it, I might switch them. Mainly because I like having an actual bolt with a something you can put a socket on rather than these flatheads that flathead Phillips combo deal. That top screw from the other solenoid does fit in there, so I'm going to use that one instead of the Phillips head with that plug-in tab, which is nice because I can get a 5/16 wrench on it and just, you know, tighten it up that way. Especially once they get old and corroded, it's just better to have something that can get more contact with the different sides. You know, Phillips heads and flatheads, you know, they have their uses, but a lot of times they are what fail in fasteners, especially machines that sit outside or get used heavily. Alright, that should do it. Maybe we'll give it one more ugga-dugga on these, again, awesome Phillips heads here. Okay. Alright, I don't think that the guy gave me the right solenoid because you shouldn't be able to do that. It should not be this loose. And I specifically asked him, because I had this solenoid with me, does the length matter? It's got literally maybe a ½ inch longer, this barrel here. And so he's like, oh, no, it doesn't matter. I think it does. So I'm not leaving that, because what can happen is, if, you know, after the machine started, this should remain sucked back And if it accidentally comes forward far enough, it'll contact the flywheel and either destroy this Bendix or the starter itself, which will then in turn completely destroy the flywheel. And I do not want to pull a motor out, so we're going to pull this back out. We'll pull this back off. We're going to put the original one back on for now. I think it's got some life left. At least enough life to try for the moment. So, as much as I really did want to have this part done, I'm not willing to take that risk. This belt wasn't completely gone, but it's easy enough to replace this right now, so that's what we're going to do. All right, last but certainly not least, we got the oil cooler. So we'll get that stuck on. All right, I got it all back together. Got both coolers, the radiator and the oil cooler on. Injection pumps in. Fans on, new belts on, all the injectors are in. The only thing that's loose is the nuts for the injectors, and then the nut on the other side of the fuel coming out of the filter into the injection pump. So, got the little clicky clack still sitting right here. So we're going to try and push that battery in a little further. Try and get some clicky clacking happening. See if we can get some fuel. Whoop, whoop. We're already pushing fuel at the pump. Sweet. So it was pouring out right here already. I do not think that the clicky clack is going to help us get the injectors primed. Usually from this machine, what I've learned is you pretty much need to crank it over with the starter. So we'll do that here in a second, and then we'll go from there. This machine has been a challenge because it ran so well before and then just pretty much turned off a switch and quit running well. So let's find out if we can finally get this thing running again and operating the way it should be. I am really excited if we can because I need it. Ugh. So, yeah, here we go. All right, we're going to crank it over until we get fluid out of these injectors. Oh, our solenoid is hanging in there for us. No fuel out of these yet. Might need another battery, but we'll see. Alright, got the clicky clack going, got a jumper pack on. There we go again. Got fuel in number 4, number 2. Tighten those up. Getting close. Fuel in 3. One more injector. Fuel in 1. Alright, well, I don't know if things are changing or not, but I still see a ton of white smoke coming out. So, plan right now is I'm going to put a battery charger on it. I'm going to come back tomorrow and we're going to try it. It's going to be like that for you, but for me, I'm done. It's late. It's time to go home, spend some time with my wife, have dinner. So, I'll see you in a second. Okay, I am back today to try and see if we can get this skid steer all primed up and working. This is one of those like moments where you're working on something and you just try and you try and you fail and you fail and you try and you try and you fail and you think, oh man, maybe I should just take this dang thing right to the scrapyard, have them send it over to China, melt it down, turn it into a shipping container or brake calipers or you name it, some tchotchke thing we buy at any big box store. But I want to figure it out. I want to figure out what's going on. If I can't get this to run, there's a little bit of play we could do. We could turn the injection pump just slightly. Beyond that, we're looking at potentially compression issues. I don't know how we could have lost compression so quickly, but I don't know. I mean, I was turning it over by hand when I had everything apart, and I was feeling compression. Diesels do need a lot more compression than most things. I don't know. The only other thing I haven't done also is I haven't used the glow plug, so maybe let's try that. I don't know. At this point, I'm willing to give anything a shot. So let's dive in and see if we can diagnose the issue today. Let's pop this glow plug out real quick. We will put some power to it and just double check it's glowing. I'll show you how a glow plug actually works. They're pretty simple. So here's our glow plug. Essentially, this end is like an electrode. So if we ground this and we put 12 volts to this, positive here, ground here, we should see this end glow. And looks like there's a little diesel fuel on it, so that'll probably smoke some. All right, I got this old school battery charger that has no electronics. So when you tell it to give 12 volts, it gives 12 volts. So we're going to basically connect the glow plug, the negative or ground, to the body. And then we're going to connect the positive to this stud here. Like that. So when I flip the switch to on, we should see this end probably start to smoke and then glow red. Like so. See that? That is why it's called a glow plug. So that glow plug is working perfectly. The purpose is to warm up the cylinder. So I've got this glow plug here is the very first one, and I've got the fourth one pulled out and connected directly to the power. The reason I can't use the key is I didn't reinstall. I installed a new key switch, but I didn't realize it did not have the switch that you could turn backwards for the key start, so I can't use the key at the moment. I got to buy a new one of those. But this will give us power in through this line from the first to the fourth. So 2 and 3, we're not going to check them right now, but I just want to see if we can get power to all, or through that wire. So we should see this one here, and that one there, if we're working properly. Yep. That one's glowing, and so is the one on the end right there. Now we know that wire is at least good enough to work for what we need it for. There's other ways to test it with a meter and everything, but this was just a quick way. All right, here we go. Let's see if this thing will start. Okay, jumper pack engaged. We're going to manually give it some glow plugs. I've got 12 volts going right to this wire here, and then I've got it grounded. So I flip the switch on the battery charger. Okay, we'll call that one cycle. Cycle them again. Okay, let's try that. All right, we are still not getting this skid steer starting, and I am starting to wonder what our compression looks like. So, got this compression tester here for diesels. The chart tells me I need number 4, and obviously the gauge. And so if you've never done a compression test on a diesel, it is different than a gasoline engine, because of the fact that diesels need a lot more compression to run than a gasoline engine. Typically you see gasoline engines anywhere from, like, sometimes the lowest is like 90 up to 200 maybe. I'm sure there's some situations where they're higher, but typically in the mid 150, 180 range. A diesel engine could make anywhere from, 250 to, I've seen some engines that are up in the 600s. So a specific gauge is needed, because this one will go all the way up to 1,000 psi, or 70 bar. Here in the US we use psi. So, and the other thing that makes it different than a gasoline engine is there's no spark plugs. You have typically at least one hole, which is usually your injector hole. And not all diesel engines have glow plugs. But in our application on this Perkins diesel engine, we have glow plugs. So the test fitting here is going to thread right down into the glow plug hole. Very similar to the way I did it on a video where I was trying to get the Kubota skid steer running. It's the other Gehl that I have that we rescued out of the woods. We did a compression test on that one, and it had very little, if any, compression. I can't remember. I think it was in like the 50 range, maybe 50 to 100, and it just didn't have enough to start. I believe this engine's got tons of compression, but it's not firing. So we need to figure out what's going on. So we've literally gone all the way through the fuel system, cleaned the tank, did the filters, did all the lines, replaced and rebuilt the injection pump, cleaned out the injection lines, pop tested all 4 injectors and installed them, and we're still not firing. So I think it's either low compression or possibly maybe the valves are out of adjustment. I don't know yet. So we're going to pop the rocker cover off, and we're going to start testing these 4 real quick, just see what we have for pressure. All right, so now we'll take this end, and it's got a little quick connect on it, and it connects right down onto that. Actually, before that, let me grab my wrench. I'm just going to give this just a tight little, just a snug. And then we'll connect our quick connect to that. And I have all 4 glow plugs out, and the fuel is all the way back, the engine shut off, so we're going to crank it over right here. Right now I've got the start switch engaged, or hooked up to the starter. So let's see what cylinder number 1 has for compression. That's like 490 psi. That's really good. I don't know what the spec is for this engine, but 490 psi, it should run. All right, here we go. Cylinder number 2. So that's like 460 psi. So that's, again, very similar. All right, cylinder number 3. Let's see what we got here. $490 psi. So that one's, again, very similar. All right, last but not least, cylinder number 4. Let's see what we got in that one. $450. I think our battery's getting low. I'm gonna grab another jumper pack, and we're gonna do that cylinder again. All right,
Got another jumper pack on. Let's see where we are now. Still about 460 psi. Okay, 460. So we got literally 2 cylinders at 490, 2 cylinders at 460. That should not be an issue. That is plenty of compression to be able to run. So next we're going to check the tire or the valve clearance and see if that's an issue. The way I'm going to find top dead center, we're going to stick a zip tie down in the spark plug hole here as we turn it over real slow and try and wait until we get that coming back up, the piston. So you want top dead center on the compression stroke for cylinder number 1. Cylinder number 1 is always the one closest to the fan. Well, since the compression is great and I just don't know what else it could be, either we still got air in the lines or I thought maybe the valves were out of adjustment. I just checked the valves and they are all free, all operating correctly, all within spec. So I'm betting we still have air in the lines. There is no reason this engine shouldn't be running by now. So we're gonna move on. I have one other idea. The other thing that I've been digging into is the glow plug circuit. And the issue with the glow plug circuit is a couple fold. Number one, a while back, I replaced this key switch right here. And it does not have a basically accessory circuit or whatever for twisting the key this way so that you can engage the glow plugs. And at the time, I don't even think I knew that, and it didn't matter then because it's the middle of the summer. So I was going through some of the wiring in here, just kind of checking to make sure everything was good and everything was where it should be. Everything looks good in there. Then I started digging down here. There is a glow plug controller right there. And then right next to it, which was where these 3 wires went, there was this solenoid. And this is a glow plug solenoid. And come to find out, that post right there, if you can see it, it's broken. And it's in this connector there. And so obviously that's an issue only with the glow plug circuit. That shouldn't affect the engine the way it runs at all, but it is cold. It is the middle of the winter. So diesel engines, especially, I don't know, especially Kubotas, and I'm not sure if small Perkins diesels are similar, that they just absolutely need their glow plugs to start in the winter. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I know Kubotas are that way. But I haven't been able to use the glow plugs. And right now, the only way I could put the wire back on, these are the 4 glow plugs right here. I tested all those. They're good. So I could just directly put power to that. The other option is to stick a heat gun right in the air intake and just blow cold air in through the engine while we try and crank it over. See if that makes a difference. And I do need to get a new solenoid for that. And then basically probably chop these wires and add a new connector on the end. I went through every one of these pigtails, cleaned them, packed them with dielectric grease. Same with, there's a solenoid here. They were kind of loose. I cleaned them, packed them with dielectric, got them back on there. Same thing with everything with the starter wires. And really, there's not a lot of electronics to this. There's a solenoid here for the hydraulics. There's a solenoid here for the hydraulics. Those aren't going to affect it starting. There's the starter and its relay, or its solenoid. And then the alternator and its wires. So, you know, plus the glow plug circuit. And then in the cab, there's like wiring for the lights, and the dash, the gauges. So there's not a lot to it. This is not a very complicated machine electronically. I don't know. I'm optimistic that maybe we've just got air in the lines and we just need to keep priming it. We're going to go ahead and put the battery back on and then stick that gun in the air intake, let it sit for, I don't know, half a minute, and then we'll give it a shot, see what happens. For now, I'm going to leave the glow plug circuit completely out because I still need to get the solenoid. That shouldn't affect, well, it may affect us in the sense that it might need them, but it won't affect anything in regards to the operation of the machine once it starts or if it starts. So we'll leave that out of the circuit at the moment. So this battery cable broke, the connector there. So I need to replace that. Not doing it now. So we'll just do it with one of the universal clamps. All right, that should do it. That one's tight. And I have a brand new the positive cable going directly to the solenoid on the starter. This is a newer cable that goes directly to the engine. The other one was getting kind of burned and I deleted on that. But right now I've also got the RC race trigger start button set up, and I did take out the electric clicky-clack pump and just have it plumbed directly from the water separator to the fuel filter, so there is no clicky-clack. It shouldn't need it. The pump for this machine is literally in the injection pump, the vane pump inside that. So, oh man, here we go. Let's see if we can finally get this old dog started back up. All right, drum roll. Yeah, baby! Well, yes, it runs! Now we can tune on it, figure out what's going on. Definitely smoking quite a bit. Probably better get the valve cover back on. We're making a murder scene in here, but we know it oils well. We'll find out here in a second if it fires right back up. There were some of those additives that I added into the tank, and I'm wondering if maybe some of that is the reason it's smoking the way it's smoking. So the only other option we have as far as like timing adjustment is, you see that right there, those numbers? You can twist the injection pump this way or that way, just slightly. Like there is not a lot of play. And so if we can't get that smoke to clear up, what I might do is adjust it all the way one way and then all the way the other way and just see what happens. Because it should not be smoking that much, but it could be burning stuff off. I do want to let it get warm and change the oil and the filter. And I got to do something about this filter housing. The mounting brackets are broken and gone. I don't even know where it was ever mounted. So I've got to just hang in there zip tied. Not great, but we're not going to fix that today. Let's get the rest of this kind of put back together. I don't think the air cleaner would really make a difference in regards to back pressure on the engine, causing it to run better. Because I've had it off and it ran great, didn't smoke, but it's worth a shot. You put it back on and see what happens. For now, let's kind of get everything tidied back up and we'll go from there. Actually, probably what we'll do next is just try and start it right back up, see what happens. All right, let's get this battery connector changed. Not the biggest fan of these clamp type battery connectors because it just gives you another spot to corrode. But it is better than that one with a pair of vice grips on it. So that's what we're going with at the moment. We'll get that put in there. All right, it's been sitting for a minute. Got the valve cover back on, got the battery in, got the battery cables kind of tucked back in. Pull this out of the intake, and let's see if it fires right up. Well, it didn't fire right up, and it smokes a lot. Got it all buttoned up, got the cab back down. Let's move this thing. I want to drive it out of the shop. I'm going to move it to a different bay over on that side because I really need to use the lift. So we're going to get this out of here. We're still got more to do to it, but I want it out of this bay. So let's get it out of here. Well, there you have it. We got the little old Gehl back to life. No way I could have done it without the guys at Area Diesel Service, so big thanks to them. Now, if you're enjoying this, let me know down in the comments because, you know, it's no small task going through these old machines that, you know, you have no history on, and when something goes wrong, you don't know what's been done to them, etc. So I still want to put a new seat on it. The hydraulic cylinders that are underneath the cab for the steering both need to be rebuilt. This cylinder here, it leaks, hence I have this little plastic thing just to catch drips. I don't leave that there when I'm running it, but so that cylinder needs to be rebuilt. I probably will do all four just to have them all rebuilt. We also have to get into I gotta replace the ignition switch with one that's got the glow plug kind of the back turn, whatever you call that, and then fix the glow plug circuit, figure out and make sure that's all working well. I also want to change the oil and the filter, change the hydraulic filter, finish the service that we started. Kind of the beginning of this service was just to get through the fuel system. That wasn't so much me servicing those filters as it was trying to eliminate what was causing the issue and why it was the way it was. I want to replace, I got some lights. Awesome lights. It's gonna make this thing like freaking daylight at nighttime. I'm so excited about it. So I want to get those installed. You know, beyond that, maybe we'll give it a coat of paint, maybe we won't. If we do, I've got some cool ideas for graphics and changing the color of the machine completely, but we'll see. At the end of the day, I just want to be able to run it for right now. At some point, maybe I'll go further with it and kind of do it up a little bit better, but all in all, it's a wheeled machine. I, at some point, want to find a track machine to fix up or just get one to use because they are extremely useful and they are way better than a tired machine. All in all, though, I truly hope you enjoy the process of literally going through everything, trying my hardest to figure out what was going on. And I can't say that I'm an expert at this. You know, I know enough to be dangerous, and I'm pretty good at fixing old machines. But sometimes you just gotta ask for help. You gotta lean on those who are true experts, and that's where the guys at Area Diesel Service came in. So if you need help with an injection pump, injectors, turbos, anything like that, give those guys a call. Their link is in the description. Their phone number is down below as well. Again, big thank you to them. Thanks for letting me come out and see your facility, and I truly appreciate your help with the skid steer here. As always, it is an honor that you decided to watch my channel. Well, you could be watching anything else in the world, and you've decided to enjoy the content that I create, and without you, this would not be possible. So a big thank you to you. Thank you for watching, thank you for commenting, thank you for liking and subscribing. Without you, it wouldn't even be possible that I could do this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys take it easy, and I'll catch you on the next one.